Hello, today we're going to talk about the Cricut Maker, one of my favorite machines. And what we're going to start with is talking about some of the materials. So the centerpiece is the Cricut Maker, and it has a little bit of an exciting reveal when you lift up the top and it unfolds itself a little bit in a robotic way. And we'll talk about these more later, but there are places in here to add in tools. And then there's a nice little place down here where you can hide some of the tools. And so we've got some of the blades and things for weeding vinyl and those sorts of things in here, which makes it a pretty transportable machine that's all in one. So I want to talk also about some of the other things that go along with this. So we've got the Maker, and right now that's been running at about $300 from various sites. And what we typically will recommend is to get some accessories that go along with it. It's pretty functional on its own, but we'll talk about some of the accessories as well. There is an accessory kit that goes along with it that I'd recommend, and that has a cutting board that you can use that works pretty well. It has an edge device here that you can use to fold edges and corners and make those things nice and sharp. It has some weeding tools and some tweezers that we will use to pick out different materials that we're going to use in our cuts. It has a bit of a spatula and some scissors. And then this is I think it's called a scoring pen that can be used to mark things. Beyond that, it gets a little bit more exciting. So this piece of equipment can do a number of things, and one of those things it can do is to draw. And so if you load drawings into the software that we'll talk about, it's called Design Space, you can attach pens, and there's a whole variety of pens that you can attach, a whole variety of colors. You can put that into the device, and then it will use those pens to draw whatever shape it is that you want. With my kids, we've drawn a whole bunch of different shapes. And we can even show you later or add the file in the video for the ability to, if you want to 3D print an attachment for the device that will allow you to use small Sharpie markers instead of the Cricut brand markers. It's quite easy to do that and to load that into the machine. Some of the other things that I will talk about, well, a couple things that come with the machine. There are these different boards that come with the machine. And I would recommend, if you're doing a lot of volume with your Cricut, that you get a few of each of these. But there's a light grip mat that has some stickiness to it. That's the one that I probably use most. There is a strong grip mat, a fabric grip mat, which you can see I've got a lot of fabric that I was trying to cut for a project on there. That is another light grip. And then this green one is a standard grip mat. And one of the tricks that somebody had told me, I haven't had to do it yet, is as these mats lose their grip, they have some amount of sort of self-healingness to them, but especially if they lose their stickiness as different fabrics and materials come off on them, you can use, I believe, a little bit of hairspray to make them sticky again so that you can get the materials to adhere to them. What might we want to stick to those mats? There's a whole variety of things. The Cricut Maker, one of the exciting things about that is it's got a whole different set of blades that I'll show you in a minute. But we might want to cut things from cardboard. We might want to cut cardstock or construction paper. I've even got some copper foil tape here that we can use to cut. One exciting option that maybe we'll make a video on is using these to cut and make your own PCBs for circuits. One of the approaches that people often want to do with this is to cut vinyl. And so I've got 2 rolls of Caesar Easy Weed HTV. You can buy a Cricut brand. There's a couple different brands of vinyl that you can buy. These are heat transfer vinyl, and those you can apply to t-shirts and a variety of different things. There's also a vinyl that I've got on my computer here that is not heat transfer vinyl, but it's a similar vinyl that you can cut on this machine and transfer it onto different devices. One of the other pieces that we'll need for this is some sort of computer. You can connect to the maker through Bluetooth and using your phone or other tablets, but generally speaking, I think you're going to want to do most of your work on a computer to rearrange the image, to fix the image, get it set up the way you want, and then to send it to the machine. So let me talk a little bit about the blades. Again, we'll open it up here and go into this piece here. And this is the 3D printed adapter for the Sharpie pens that you can use. And you can use some pens from different sizes. And I will put out a couple of the blades here. I don't remember all of the blades, but you can see here that there are a few different blades that will work for different materials that you want to use. I know I've used the rotary blade for cutting some fabrics, and the thicker blades or the deeper blades for cutting things like thicker cardboard or mat board and those sorts of things. You can also cut balsa wood with this, but I've never cut balsa wood, so I can't speak to that directly. And they all load into the machine in the same way. You can open up these gates and get access to, this is the Cricut pen adapter, but you can get access to these cylindrical slots in here, and you can add the tools in there that you need. And the machine itself, there's a decent amount of customizability, but the machine itself will tell you, when you tell it what materials you have, it will tell you which blade to put in, and it has default settings that will work with those different materials. So let's get on to making a project. Not that we need to do that at the end, but okay.
It may be useful, though, if we don't catch the first one.
Anything, while I've got all this stuff out here, is there anything that you think I missed? That was all.
You talked about all the different materials, you talked about the different kinds of mats, you talked about the different blades, pens, weeding.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you got it.
Yeah, I think that's good. Like, maybe like in the future videos, like we should start with all the introducing.
Okay.
The materials and the tools.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep.
So I think what I'll do is get this stuff off of here, and then I'll bring it back on as needed.
There's the train coming.
Yeah.
Good time. Good time.
Do you want me to set those back there? Just any of that stuff that
You know, I think it's going to be a couple hard cuts in here, if that's even a thing. I don't know if that's a thing, but because I'm going to need. I hadn't thought through that. I'll need to cut the vinyl first, and then load it onto the mat and do that sort of thing. And this is also going to be one of those where I talk through the process on the PC, but I'm going to have to do a screen grab of that. Okay, so we'll do standard, this stuff. Yeah, do we think that having like so, is that the best setup? I realized as I was doing that, I realized how many reflective materials I have.
Yours doesn't have an audio output jack on it, unless I'm just not.
Not as I don't think as an additional, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just hope that the audio is working appropriately. Does that look decent in the
Oh yeah,
picture?
That's great.
Okay.
Probably not while it's recording.
And you can, I don't know if it would show it to you, you can connect that to phone and run it,
Oh, really?
you know, in real time, so I could have it on my phone here and see what
Oh, right.
the images.
You can control it from the phone. You can see it from the phone.
You can control it from your phone. I don't know if it would tell you like audio levels and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any.
Yeah, my camera is really old. It doesn't even connect to anything.
Yeah.
So how old is this?
This, I just got this
Okay.
last Christmas actually.
Okay, cool.
It does everything that I need it to.
Okay.
And more, probably more than I
This
know
is a
how
full
to use.
frame. Is that full frame? Like this is definitely full frame.
Yeah, yeah. This is the 80D. It's a great camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things is like this camera is like now the resolution is so high, the data size is so big. That's one of the. I don't know, it's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
So the data is really too big.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this one's 24 megapixels,
Yeah.
which is just, yeah, ridiculous. It's double what my Nikon is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and my Nikon's only a couple years old.
So the editing process takes much more.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Storage.
So-
Storage is an issue, yeah.
So
Oh,
let me just
wow.
see.
I'm gonna cancel all these. That's not gonna work. I was trying to upload them into our folder.
So there must be some YouTube video talking about like what's the best resolution for YouTube type of videos.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we need to do full
Yeah. Yeah.
like resolution.
Yeah. I agree.
So let me just get back so I'm actually saying the right things here.
Are you doing heat transfer? Is that what you
Yeah,
did? Yeah.
that was my thought.
Yeah.
Right, so, and we don't, I'm literally going to be standing here talking through what I'm doing, but
Yeah.
that's it, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And we'll wait on the. We get some cool footage of the Cricut interaction as it's cutting.
Does that camera make sense anymore
Yeah, it does.
where it is?
It's actually right.
I like it there just for the
Yeah.
Just a
secondary
variety?
audio as
Okay.
well too.
Okay.
Yeah. And it'll make good B-roll type of stuff to plug in.
So let's see. So I'm gonna say we're gonna start a project. We're gonna make the Maker Studio logo. We're gonna make it with heat transfer vinyl and put it on a T-shirt. And so I'm gonna load the thing into the software. I'm gonna talk about some of the changes to make it to it there. And then I think at some point I'll stop, and what I'll do is cut a piece of this and then come back and affix that and then show it. Okay. Are we ready?
Ready? We'll give it a clap.
All right, so the project we're gonna work on today is to make the Maker Studio logo on vinyl, heat transfer vinyl, and then later we will show attaching that vinyl to a small t-shirt. So I'm gonna walk you through that process now. And we're gonna have to do a decent amount of screen capturing to show you what that looks like in the software. The software for Cricut is called Cricut Design Space. And while it's web and browser based, I'm not 100% confident if it works on Chromebooks, but we'll look into that and we'll include the note below. And I just got notice as I was starting this video that they do have a desktop version of the software that's in beta. And I'm assuming that that gives you the same functionality, but you do not need to use it through a browser. So, and you can look online and find a whole set of discussions online about whether people like Design Space or not. I generally have found it pretty easy to use and work with. It's pretty intuitive. It seems to have the right amount of functionality, and for anything that I've used it for, it seems to work quite well, but I'm sure there are limitations. So let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the software and bring up Design Space. When I open that, it will give me a startup screen. And from that startup screen, I will go to Upload Image. When I click on Upload Image, it takes me to a screen where I can pick the image that I want to choose. So for this, I'm going to pick a JPEG for the Maker Studio logo, and I'm going to click Open and import that. And one of the things that I do like about this software, and I've actually used this software to do this to images and then export those for other projects, is it has an easy interface to bring in the image and remove the background. And so on this image, it's a red and white image, so it's very simple. So what I'm going to do is, once it brings the image in, I'm going to click on the simple choice. There's simple, moderately complex, and complex. For most of the work that I've ever done, I've just selected simple, and that's been good enough. And then when I click continue, it takes me to the next window. And you see the logo that we've got here, and it shows as sort of a cream background with the red or scarlet logo. And if I click on the cream, that's the part that I want to remove, and it automatically removes that. And so I really like that feature. One thing that you need to be careful of here is if you have small, intricate designs that have sections of background that you want to remove that are separated from each other, then you will need to click in each of those areas to remove that. So I clicked on the outside and removed the background from that, but now I need to click within the logo to remove the coloring from the inside of the S. And so now that that is done, we're set to go. So I click continue, and then it gives me an option where when I first got this, it confused me, but it wants to now store this image in the sort of database that you're building or the account that you're building. And so the two options there are to save as a print and then cut image, or to just save as a cut image. Now the print and then cut is useful in a number of ways. So we've done that before where we've wanted to make stickers. And what you can do as one option for that is you can use a color laser printer or any sort of printer. And oh no, I take that back. So there's two options for me to deal with the logo. There is an option that is a save as a print then cut image. The other option is just to save it as a cut image. We're gonna save it as a cut image, but let me explain to you the print then cut image. We have used this before to make stickers. And so what you can do in this case is you can have a design that's pretty intricate. What I believe we used one that was a picture of a horse, riding on the beach or something like that. And we wanted to make stickers out of those. So we were able to replicate that image multiple times on the page. I could take it to a printer, and I believe it needs to be an inkjet printer, but I could take it to a printer and print off that page, and then I could feed that page into the Cricut, and it would cut out the border of those, and then we could use those as stickers. And so that one works quite well if you need to do something like that. And I'm sure there's other use cases there. Like I said, we're going to select the save as a cut image, and we can label it. So I've labeled it as Maker Studio, and you can add sorts of comments that you can search later. And then I'm going to click save. So it saves that as an image. That image is then in my repository of images that I've used. And it's now set up where if I select that image by clicking on it, I can then insert that image into the workspace for Design Space. So it populates the workspace with that image. I could definitely incorporate other images, but the one that we're working with today is going to be just this logo. So it brings that image into the space, and we can do simple things like resizing that image to make it the scale that we want. We can rotate that image, and we can lock that image in place if we're going to have multiple things on there. Up at the top of this screen, there are multiple options where we can choose what we want to do with this image. So right now it's set as a cut, but if we go under line type, you can see that we've got cut, draw, score, engrave, deboss, wave, and perf. So we're not going to talk about all those today. We'll talk about those in a later video. Right now what we're going to do is we're going to cut, because we want to cut this vinyl. And what we're going to do is leave the outer logo and just cut the outer edge, leave the red inner space, and then cut out the inner S so that that will be removed, and it will show through the color of the t-shirt that we're going to put this on. So with this one, it's pretty straightforward. We can move the orientation of the object in the workspace, but that orientation really doesn't matter right now. And we can, like I said, if you've got multiple images, you can fix those into place. But later, when we go to cut this, we can move that image around the screen. We've got a 12 by 12 cutting area, and so we can move it around if that makes sense. Most times it will automatically move it to the upper left of the cutting board, and so for this case, that's fine for us. So we've got our logo in here. It looks good to me. We've made it at about 3 inches wide and 3 inches tall, or sorry, 3 inches wide and about 2 inches tall. So we've got it at about 3 inches wide and 3 inches tall. So we'll go with that for now. We don't want any fill, so we will leave that. And there are no other settings on here that I need to change for this image. So we'll move to the next stage, which is actually getting the material ready to cut. And then once it's cut, we can show you how to affix it to the t-shirts. So one of the things that we will need to do is to go from this image in this workspace into the setup for the actual cutting, which is where this gets exciting. So if I click in the upper right of the screen on Make It, it's pretty clear what that's getting us ready for. I will click on Make It, and the screen goes through a couple changes, and it moves us into more of a print style appearance. And this one is a little bit hard to see because it's a black image on a dark background. But here we can change the material size, which I've almost always left as 12 by 12. You can choose to mirror the image at this stage, which is nice because sometimes for some vinyls, you will want to mirror the image so that it cuts it in reverse, so that when you then affix it to an object, it reads or shows the way that you want that. We don't need to do that for this, so we will leave it the way that it is, and we will click Continue. And at this stage, it starts looking for the machine, so we need to power up the machine. It's got a basic plug that it's attached to in the back, and then it's got a typical USB cable running out of the back that we can then connect to the computer that we're working with. Like I said before, it does have a Bluetooth function to allow you to connect it to different devices. That is nice. I had originally, when I first started using it, I had a couple connection issues, and what I found when I was looking up help there was that for consistency's sake and for stability of connection, they definitely recommend the USB connection. But if you're in a pinch and you need to quickly use the Bluetooth connection for one of your devices, that's fine.
Sorry, can we come for a second? You ran out of battery.
Okay. Perfect. So let's see, what did I have to,
And you're at about 17% on your
okay.
FICO. Just check it as well.
I don't think it's super important. I think I was talking about mirroring. Yeah, you need to hit that button twice. So I said we do not need to mirror these. Is that right?
Do you want me to go? We could probably go back on one of these.
Well, I'm just trying to think. Right, because we're gonna cut it like so. I think we do need to mirror it because this is the sticky side.
If you're
Right.
Yeah, if
Right,
you're
for heat transfer?
Heat transfer,
Okay.
you need to mirror. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if the Cricut's the same. The silhouette, I will often the silhouette gets confused with mirroring when
Okay.
the software is doing the mirroring. So I always mirror it manually. But I don't know if that's true for the Cricut.
Yeah, I think it's okay. It usually does a nice flip.
Yeah.
That's
I
okay.
don't know if the silhouette, if that's a software issue or if it's more of a what it is.
Okay, so let's start. Are we ready? Okay. Is that one recording?
Yep.
Okay. So once we hit make it, the screen that comes up is more of a print preview type screen. And in this screen, we get a few options. Most of these I don't ever change, but in this one we'll make one change. So the material size we generally leave at 12 by 12. And there's a mirror toggle that we can play with here. Because we're using heat transfer vinyl, and because this vinyl is sort of the opposite of what you would think, where this very shiny part is actually the side that will go down toward the shirt, and will, when we heat it, will sort of glue itself to the shirt. We do want to mirror the images when we're doing cuts for t-shirts and things like that. So I've toggled mirror, and you can toggle it on and off, and you'll see the image flip itself. And so once that's set, then I will click on continue. And what it will want to do at that stage is it's looking to make a connection to the machine. So I've powered up the machine, and generally I will use the USB connection. I might have mentioned before that it is possible to get this to connect to Bluetooth, but for longer cuts, Bluetooth is considered to be somewhat unstable. And so if you have anything longer than maybe a few seconds, I would recommend the USB as the default because you won't have connection issues there. Whereas in the past, particularly when I've done some intricate drawing patterns, it will, I don't know if it's a buffering issue or what, but in the middle of a design, it has frozen before and hasn't wanted to fix itself from there. So I would generally recommend using the cable unless you're trying to print something off of your phone or off of a tablet where you can't connect it directly. So once I've got that first print preview set, then I get to where it wants me to set the material. So in this case, what I'm going to do is find the vinyl setting in here, and you can populate this with your favorites. The other thing you can do is to go to Browse All Materials. And so I'll go to Browse All Materials, and I will type in vinyl and hit return, and it gives me a whole set of vinyls here as options. And if I remember correctly, there is a an option for everyday vinyl, which is some. Why am I not seeing this? Never seen dry erase. Oh, that's it. Okay. So one of the options is I can type in vinyl and hit search, and a whole set of vinyls come up. And some of these are more common vinyls than others, and a number of these probably match up with the Cricut brand vinyls that would match the title perfectly. However, I know for this one that it matches with one that doesn't come up when you search vinyl. So there's a little trick. If you search every and hit go, there's an everyday iron-on. And that is the one that has the best settings for the Caesar vinyl, the heat transfer vinyl. And there's a couple other ones. There's everyday iron-on mesh and everyday iron-on mosaic. But this one will just use the everyday iron-on. So we highlight that, and you'll see a little green check mark, and then we'll select done. And there have been times when I'm working with the new material where you may need to change the settings, and that gets to be an interesting process. And you can change some of the pressure that the blade uses, you can change which blade you're using, but for the most part, we just use the default settings here. So it's all ready to go, and it says it wants me to load the tools in the mat, and you can see over here that there's a blinking two-headed arrow that's saying it's ready to load. But before I get there, I need to cut the vinyl. So I will go to use the cutting board, and I will cut an appropriate size section here. Let's move the mat out of the way. And if I run this under and close this down and make sure that I've got the appropriate size, I can then use this blade, and if I push it down, it should cut a nice piece of vinyl for me. I can move that away. And then what I might do is just make another cut on here to make it more squared. So I'll give myself some space there, and I will run the blade back and forth, and I can remove those away. And for this one, I'm going to use the standard grip mat. And so what I will do, and because I mentioned before, the image often gets moved into the upper left, I will affix the vinyl with the shiny side up. I will affix it in the upper corner, or one of the corners of the grid that's on there. And they've got both centimeters and inches for the grid. And so I will affix it in that corner, and we're basically ready to go. So, oops, I just unplugged the device. Shouldn't be too bad. It might throw a little bit of a message saying that I need to find the device again. It hasn't even done that. So on the device, again, the double-headed arrow is blinking. What I will do is load this mat. There are two little clips that are out here, or guides is a better term. And I want to get the mat under those guides, and I want to get it loaded somewhat squarely in there. Otherwise, it can get a little bit twisted. It's usually not a problem, but you want to get it set under those guides. And then you can see on here there are these white, I think they're called star rings, and those help to grip the mats as they move in and out. There are times when you are working with thicker materials that you want to move them all the way over so they're movable, and that will allow sort of greater thickness materials to get under there easily. Right now we're good, and we've got nothing in position A, which is the one on the left here, and we've got the fine point blade in position B, and I believe that's what this is going to call for. So we can hit the load button and load the mat. And what I typically do, probably overkill, but I will just lift up the back part of the mat and put a little bit of pressure on it so that when it loads, it actually makes its way into the machine. Sometimes I've had it where it hasn't engaged those teeth and it thinks it's loaded, but it's actually not moved into the machine. So my computer is needs to be reset. Okay. So on my computer, it knows that the material is now loaded, and the machine has this blinking Cricut button. And similar to some of the other machines that are out there, that's basically the indication that everything should be ready to go. There is an option on here where I can choose fast mode. I don't think I've ever used that. This machine works fast enough. I don't think I've ever found the need to do that. So what we can do here is when I hit Cricut, it will go through a little bit of a startup sequence where it takes in the mat, and the head sometimes will move back and forth. And I believe that it's sort of sensing the mat and the material and getting a sense to make sure that the correct blade is in there. And then it will pause, my computer will work for a few seconds, and then it should get busy starting on the shape itself. So we'll hit the Cricut button here. And on my computer, it knows that I've done something. So as this loads, it's saying it's detecting the tool. Like I said, it's going through some initial setup. One quick thing is it does feed the material out the back, so you don't want to have this pushed up against a wall. It made the outline cut. And that was a very quick cut. So we're gonna hit the double-headed arrow again now, and what that will do is push the mat out of the machine or unload it. I'm not sure if the camera can pick up the design on there, that you can see where it has cut the design that we want onto the vinyl here, but it looks good, and it looks like we've actually cut a almost perfect size square there. So what I need to do is grab a quick tool. All right, I'm back. So now what we're gonna need to do, and we can maybe get a close-up on this, is now what I need to do is weed the vinyl on here. So we have 3 pieces. In the future, when I make this, I might want to be a little bit more thoughtful about how does that work with the reflection?
Yeah. Oh, it'll be fine.
Okay.
As long as I'll keep my camera. There's a reflection that for me that runs right along there, but as long as I keep my camera in the right spot, I can get it.
Yeah, I don't think we have access to a heat press in here, but
Yeah.
all right, so now comes the exciting part where we've got a design that has been cut by the Cricut, and what we need to do now is we need to get the pieces of vinyl removed and be left with the overall design that we can put on the shirt. So this tool is exactly like the ones they use at the dentist, and it can help us to weed, which is to pull out the bits and pieces of vinyl that we don't want. This one, we're gonna weed 2 main parts. We're going to weed the outer edge, because that is waste, And what I should have done a better job of on this is to reduce waste is I should have, so we'll peel that off of the backing, move that aside. And what I should have done to reduce waste is that this outer edge, there's quite a bit of material here that we're gonna waste. And so as I start picking away at this, and it's good to pick at an edge, but because this is waste, I'm just sort of grabbing here. I'm not doing a great job of it. Okay, so let's start that again. All right, so we've got our finished image here. And what we're gonna do is use this, which is a dental tool, to weed or remove the bits of vinyl that we don't want. So I will start in the middle here, and I will remove inner parts of the S.
You're supposed to cut it upside down.
It's not working.
I wonder if you were supposed to cut this side.
Why are you not working? Easy fix for video, but it's weird. Right, so it should just pick right up. I don't think it's not sharp enough.
Get started before I start recording.
Yeah, I'll have to just cut another piece because I butchered this.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Is this supposed to be off?
That's why I wondered if you were supposed to cut this side because the red is going to show, but I don't know. I never know on these. They're always,
So usually,
each one of them is totally,
usually they don't. What I've had is there's like a matte background
yeah.
and a
Yeah,
shiny.
and a shiny.
And the
Yeah,
shiny goes down.
those are the ones that I'm.
Maybe you cut it backward.
You want to try one cut like that?
Yeah. Let me actually. Let me just look at my computer real fast since we've got internet access.
It doesn't feel off.
Because we'll have to redo that.
Oh, not what I want to do.
Ooh, have you tried? There's a pho place called the Asian restaurant. It's really authentic. Okay, pho. Like it's the best pho I had around here.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Vietnamese food, but I couldn't find anything really good in West Lafayette. Pretty sure there.
Yeah. So why?
So do you live nearby here? Like,
North of here, Noblesville.
oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
So it's by the mall. Oh, like north of the mall.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then you're teaching at
Westfield.
Westfield.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see the size of it.
So the Westfield middle school or
High school.
high school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me check. So this is the old video. This is the one that I used, but it's showing the HTV that I'm used to. Which is this
Mm-hmm. It's got the shiny side and then the
stuff.
God, I gotta see it backward way.
I think it must be backward. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other side
I think
feels.
so too.
Yeah, this feels off.
Huh. But it's almost like there's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh. Oh, wait. So that is the right way. Because this is the stuff You did cut it the right way.
Oh, is that?
But it's not coming.
Oh
Yeah.
wait, no, you didn't. No, you cut. Yeah, it needs to be flipped. See, because this is the plastic side,
Right, and we need.
you need that cut out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to do it.
Yeah. You need to flip it.
So you gotta tell. Yeah.
So help me recreate that. So we
I would
go
start
back to.
Cutting.
where you
cleaning,
put
putting
the
like loading.
cutting that piece
Logo.
out.
Right, because I lied.
Yeah.
And I said that.
You know what? We could even use that as part of it, and like start you doing the cutting it the one way and go, wait,
That's
hold
good.
on.
That's
Yeah.
Let's rewind that.
Okay.
Wrong way.
You can rewind.
Because I think that would be funny, and then I could just add a little section where you rewind, where it
Yeah.
looks like we're rewinding. Yeah.
Okay. Let me get this set up so it's ready to go.
We can actually have a video about us scattering, like
Yeah.
trying to figure out what's going on.
That actually is pretty funny too.
Yeah. That would be funny. It's like, what's going on?
How many makers does it take to cut a logo?
Yeah. Easy, right? Easy. I find it funny that that you have to search every day rather than like it's not listed under vinyl.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always cheat the kinds of vinyl.
Did we throw away that one?
No.
I don't.
I think I have it over here.
Okay. So yeah, you wanna start with that idea, making a mistake.
Yeah.
So, lesson learned. So, my previous experience with this vinyl was that we cut it with the shiny side facing up, and then that side goes down on the t-shirt, and we use the heat press to affix that to the fabric. But as we started butchering this and trying to take apart the design, we found that these newer rolls have a white background rather than a red background, and that we need to cut this a different way. So we're gonna walk you through that part of it. So instead of what we did before where we had the shiny part facing up, we're going to put the white part facing up, and we will affix it in a similar fashion. And we're gonna do this again. So we're gonna load the machine here, feed it in. We could probably do this in fast forward mode where that gets loaded and the machine looks ready to go. So I'm gonna hit the Cricut button here, and we've got fingers crossed that this is gonna work this time. It's a pregnant pause. So again, it's cutting the outer edge of the logo. Now it's cutting the interior. We'll unload it. And you can see that the design is cut on there again. And one of the keys with the vinyl is, particularly for this type of vinyl, is we don't want it to cut all the way through that backing. So the clear backing that we showed you on this, we don't, so this is a good sign that it didn't cut all the way through. We don't want it to cut all the way through that because we want that, that's going to help us as we affix this to the shirt. So let's get a close-up here. I'm gonna move the computer away, and let's get a close-up and I'll show you the process of weeding this. So maybe we'll leave it on the mat for now, but I will try to find the inside part of the logo here, and I will use this tool, and now we're working. Can lift up the edge, and then you can grab, and if you've got really intricate stuff, you might want to use tweezers, but if you pull with a certain amount of force and and sort of keep moving around the bends, it will pretty easily come with you. In this case, we're gonna take this square and probably put this square on the t-shirt. So we've left a little bit of waste out here, and we should probably do a better job with not having that much waste on these. It's not very sustainable to do that. And we'll think about that more in the future. But for this case, what we'll do is we'll remove this outer edge of vinyl, and then we can peel the entire cut off of the backing. And one tip that I had heard before, which works well, is if you bend the mat and not the material, it will help the material roll up less. This works well with cardstock and those sorts of things. And so we're left with the Maker Studio logo. And we don't have an iron right here with us. I'll show you that later. But what we can do is we can then affix that in whatever way that we want. Position it on the t-shirt, and then press this. Typically, we're pressing these at about 300 or so degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 seconds. And that will affix this logo to the shirt. This sort of plastic backing will come off, and then this logo is ready to go. And it's you can wash the shirt a number of times. It stays on there. And you're all set to start making your own t-shirts. So thank you for joining us on an intro activity with the Cricut Maker using the heat transfer vinyl for making t-shirts. We'll do a more advanced video later where you can layer the different colors of vinyl to make a more complex pattern, and we'll take you through some of the other functions of the Maker. But thank you for joining us. Take care.
Woohoo! We made it!
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Really?
Yeah, that's okay. I've got